All right, everybody, welcome in and welcome back. Season 5, Episode 2, aka our 144th show. Andy, I think, just happy soccer. We've had so
Yeah,
much of it.
it is. It's a lot. It's a lot. It's been a lot of soccer, and we're going to get more in the next, I think, couple weeks than we've had in any other World Cup
Yep.
for that. So I guess question is like, are you still getting the World Cup buzz, or is that starting to fade a little bit for you?
Fade a little bit. It really depends matchup to matchup and kind of how the game goes. If the game is close, then I get really excited. Like Ghana, was it Ghana, Ecuador? Or Ghana, Panama. I don't remember which one it was. That game was very exciting because there was a goal at the death.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I'm just like, oh man, like Algeria and Jordan, like no offense to either of those countries, but me personally, that game just doesn't move the needle for me.
Yeah. The only reason I would go to watch that game is to see how many people are actually watching that match,
Yeah.
to be honest. So that's the only thing that would get me at all interested in watching that game.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So
we've got
it's faded a little bit. How about for you?
Yeah. It's starting to now. Sometimes I think it kind of ebbs and flows with the results. My favorite teams have not had the best of results, not horrible results, but not the best of results. So it's kind of waning, and it's a glut. It's been for a week. It was checking the Instagram and seeing Zlatan and seeing Rebecca Lowe and seeing Scottish fans and Men in Blazers, and that was my entire feed. So I was living in that for a week, and now I'm like, okay, I need to be a person again. So maybe we're going to be a little bit more even keel, or who knows? Honestly, this could even spark it back up again. But
yeah,
I think it's right now. I think we're kind of, depending on where your teams are at. I think for your teams, it seems like they're pretty situated. But I think we're just going to run down the World Cup preview. But before, any news from Barcelona? Any side news that's been popping out?
I think yes, but no. So nothing major as far as transfers in or out. As far as I've seen, actually, that's not true. Today, Iñaki Peña has been transferred to, it's a Greek team, and it's a long name, Parthenakos or something like that.
Yeah, Panathinaikos.
Panathinaikos, yes, thank you. Yep. So he's officially transferred, not loaned, transferred to them. Thank you to Iñaki Peña for your service to the club. But you didn't really have any meaningful starts this past year for us, and we're loaned out anyway. So I think it's for the best.
Yeah. Sometimes it's for the best, like you said.
Yep. The biggest news I would say is Atletico Madrid and Barcelona have been going back and forth on Julian Alvarez. Atletico Madrid in the last 1 to 2 weeks have tried to offload him to Arsenal and PSG, and Julian Alvarez has said no. He said he only wants to go to Barcelona. He actually said in the interview after yesterday's game between Argentina and Austria that he is getting frustrated with Atletico Madrid. He wants out, and he didn't specifically say he wants to go to Barcelona, but he's like, I don't want this to be a thing. I don't want to drag this out. Like, we need to get this done, kind of thing.
Yeah. Crazy he's having to talk about that during the World Cup, because I would feel like back home, like people aren't really going to be happy with that, because I'm sure they'd be think about Argentina. Argentina's got a mission to win back-to-back World Cups. Like that's what we're here to do.
Yeah, and I think he's being asked about it in these interview questions, and he was very upfront. He's like, I'm an honest person. This is getting frustrating. Like, I think it's gone on for so long, and he keeps getting asked about it. It's just kind of always there for him, which is frustrating. So hopefully for his sake and for Barcelona's sake, we can get something done.
Yeah, I hope so. Just to keep it moving for sure.
Yep. So that's the biggest transfer news for Barcelona. Andy, anything on United's end?
No transfer news. Actually, the biggest news actually came last week, and I forgot to mention this, but United have decided to allow Amazon Prime to run their behind the scenes documentary for United. I actually think that's kind of big news, because I think anytime you let someone into the locker room, especially now with Carrick as a new manager, that's going to, I think, completely throw off the changing room, because as soon as
Mm-hmm.
these like people with high profile names, not saying anyone in particular, but when they know they have the cameras on, they're going to be different, and
Yep.
then they're constantly going to be thinking, "Are cameras on? Cameras off? Do I care?" I think that just adds so much more pressure that really wasn't needed.
Yep.
I'm sure it's for the money because it's going to, it'll
100%.
make it'll make stuff, but
Yep.
um, I don't know if this is the best thing for Carrick.
Mm-hmm.
And if we start, honestly, I'll say this: I think if we start seeing Carrick's reign go south quickly, or start to go south this year, I think the Amazon Prime is going to be a main culprit of that.
Yeah.
If
Agreed.
if so,
Yeah.
that's where we're at in the big news for that. But we're here to talk World Cup.
Yep.
Let's go through the groups. We'll cover one game for certain groups, two games for other groups, because of how late and how big this tournament is. As I roll my eyes, so we'll go A through L. I
Yep.
can't even believe it. It's like we're just doing the whole alphabet at this
Yep. We're
point.
gonna be A to Z eventually.
But yeah. Oh,
Yep.
oh yeah.
Exactly.
Don't tell Infantino that while he lets Trump handle his trophy to give to the winner or whatever.
Ugh. Ugh.
Um, yeah. So we'll start with Group A. Paul, I didn't see this match. I had only heard of it,
Yes.
but it was quite eventful for the event that happened to ultimately determine the game.
Yeah. So this was an interesting one because off the field, South Korea and Mexico, the fans have been getting along just swimmingly. And you're seeing
Mm-hmm.
videos everywhere that, they're having a grand old time and then they had to face each other. So um, it seems like post match everything was pretty chummy, especially since the host team Mexico won 1-0. Very, very even match. Both teams looked at the same level. Like either team could score, either team could win it. It definitely deserved a draw.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, in the second half, there was a ball in the box that the keeper yelled at to claim. He went to go get it, and one of his defenders heard his call like too late and couldn't quite get out of the way in time.
Yeah.
So the keeper kind of falls on him, fumbles the ball, goes right to a Mexico player who puts it in the open net. It's just one of those where it's like, man, just like bad timing, bad place, bad time.
Yeah.
And it was the defining moment in the game as far as the scoreline is concerned. What I noticed in the second half, there were two instances. One was about, I think, halfway or a little bit more through the second half, where Hyunjun Yang fouls Gallardo, and they kind of like tussle and tumble to the ground. As Gallardo is going to the ground, he kicks out with his studs and actually hits Yang in the chest. And it's if you watch the replay, it's a very obvious like kicking out at the opposing team, not in natural tumbling to the ground.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just surprised that VAR doesn't have a look at that because it looked really egregious to me watching the replay back.
Yeah.
I know VAR, and there's been a point that VAR has been less prevalent in this, which I don't mind because of how poorly it's been used in the kind of the club with the clubs, with the domestics, domestic games, domestic tournaments, things like that. But when the viewer can see something that's clear and obvious, I think VAR has to do at least something, at least call the ref. And there has to be transparency with the viewers of, hey, VAR looked at this after talking with the ref, there's not enough evidence, play on, right? Or, call them over to the monitor. It's just the transparency has to be there. And I've talked about this before, not for a while, but rugby does it extremely well. Rugby turns on the mics so you can hear what the video assistant referees and the main referees are talking about. You can watch it as the referee is watching it. It is very clear. It is very transparent. It's just, again, it's frustrating when viewers at home can see something and it seems like nothing is done about it on the field.
Yeah. I think my 2 cents on that is, I think more so even for the people that are at the stadium, because the viewers know what's happening, because they'll get a ping from the commentator, or the commentator will make a mention of it. Whereas viewers viewers or fans at the stadiums don't know what's going on. All of a sudden there's a pause and like, what's happening? And they're just trying to find the one little guy in the black like suit to make the see like what they're doing.
Yep.
Um, I hear you. I love the transparency that rugby is able to do and kind of mic everyone up as they're talking. Um, I just, to be honest, I don't necessarily know, like just the announcing of what the call is. I don't know if that does anything there,
Yeah.
or like seeing them get into a huddle or whatever. Yeah, I don't know if that really adds anything beyond just what hand signals could do anyway,
Yeah.
because they don't give anything. They don't say, well,
That's
because of X, Y, and Z. They're just saying, after review, this is my decision.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's like
That's
just give a hand signal at that point. I don't
right.
know why they have to talk it.
Right. Yeah. Agreed. Agreed. The other one was very late in the game. South Korea had a header where the offensive player heads the ball. The Mexican player has his like arm against his chest, but just his upper arm, and his elbow is against the body, but it's at a 90-degree angle out away from his body. And ball hits his arm again, no review. To me, it's like clear and obvious handball. I mean, his arm's not in a natural position down by his side. His arm definitely moves in a way where it seems like he's trying to block the ball, not necessarily blatantly with his arm, but with his body, and his arm's away from his body. Again, things like this where the viewer at home, to me, I think it's a clear and obvious. Other fans might think differently, but I just don't understand why VAR and what could be construed as a clear and obvious infraction is not at least being looked at.
Yeah, and maybe it is. What I've noticed too is sometimes they go like they're going quite fast in terms of their checks, which good or I don't know, good or bad for it.
Yeah,
But
again, that's fine, but there needs to be something on the screen, and I think Telemundo does a great job of it, of saying, hey, VAR is looking at, possible penalty, and then when it's, decided nothing is given, boom, nothing is given. But in these cases, like nothing was shown on the screen, so it doesn't seem like VAR is getting involved at all.
Yeah, well, I just hope it sticks with that. And like this is where my cynical place is kind of going now, is that if they do start offering it more and more, I can see them start doing little commercial breaks, going for VAR review, being like, wait, we have to do an official review. Here's a quick throw of a Coca-Cola commercial or whatever.
Yeah. That's what Fox will do, but Telemundo will not.
Yeah, for now. I'm glad they're not doing it.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah. Anyway, that was my 2 cents with that game. Really great game, really even. They definitely look like the two best teams in this group. So Mexico stands on 6 points in first. South Korea stands on 3 points. The second game in that group, Andy, was Czechia and South Africa. They ended up drawing 1-1. It was a back and forth, cagey affair, but the draw does little for both teams. They always sit on 1 point, and they're going to be hard pressed to try to beat both Mexico and South Korea in the third and final game of the group to try and get out of the group.
Definitely, yeah. Honestly, probably their draw probably helps just more third place teams more so than it helps them at all. So
absolutely,
that's where it kind of goes for there.
Yep.
Heading to Group B, Paul, we had Canada and Qatar. Kind of like the yin and the yang of what happens in I don't know if it's the yin and the yang, but the extremities that can happen at a World Cup, where Canada faced Qatar, got their first win, I think, in World Cup history. So they're able to get. It is kind of crazy given Canada and like its size and everything. But I think the big part of the story is that there was a tackle that led to a broken leg. That broke a Canadian player's leg.
Yeah.
There was no review. Like they didn't show replays, which thank God. Like I have been blessed and knock on wood to not see those happen in real time. Because when you hear coaches and players talk about it in real time, they are like aghast for it.
Yeah.
When it happens, and I'm like, I just don't need to ever hear that.
Yeah.
But from there, I think Canada ended up laying on more points, more goals.
Yep.
One Canadian player held up the jersey of the player whose leg was just broke, in like sign of solidarity there. So first win comes at a cost.
Yeah, it was 6-0. I think.
Yeah.
My biggest thing with this is the Qatarian players were getting frustrated because Canada was basically passing the ball out around them. Qatar couldn't get a touch of the ball, and so
Mm-hmm.
the Qatarian player takes a swipe at the Canada player out of frustration.
Yeah.
Didn't look like he was trying to injure the Canadian player, but did severely.
Yeah.
And you could tell as soon as the Qatarian player knew what happened, he was very remorseful. What
Yeah.
I didn't like, and the Canadian manager also didn't like, is then the Qatarians started like almost trying to pick a fight with the Canadians because the Canadians were standing up for their guy. And he's just
Mm-hmm.
like, what are you doing? Your player broke our player's leg. We have every
Right.
right to respond in that way.
Yeah.
Like, and it was like not like both players going for the ball. It was very much Qatarian player takes a swipe at the Canadian player, very
Yeah.
much.
Yeah.
So
And
it's like,
apparently,
why are you
yeah.
trying to fight?
Yeah. And apparently, the manager, I think it's Lopetegui, is the Qatari manager at this point. Apparently, he tried to make some like comment to Jesse Marsh, the Canadian manager, and it's like I'll echo
Yep.
kind of what I heard from Rebecca Lowe saying. I'm like, there is nothing you have to say, or maybe it's Brendan Hunt. Honestly, like, there's nothing that you need to do besides saying
Yep.
apologies. Like, I'm so sorry that this happened.
Yes.
I hope he recovers quickly and has a full recovery.
Yes.
That's it. That's all
Yep.
you can say.
Yep.
So I think
Yep.
too, it's also the part of like Qatar quality wise is significantly lower than Canada, and this is
Yes.
what happens. I think when you have, I would say, I'd wager this is kind of what happens when you have players of lower quality getting into these tournaments. Is that they're
Mhm.
trying to play at this faster pace, they really can't, and so then they overgo, and then they break someone's leg.
Yeah.
So
I
that's
would say
my
some. I would
yeah.
say some. I wouldn't say all because we've seen some lower teams hold their own against some of these upper teams. So I wouldn't say
Mhm.
make it a sweeping statement, but it happens.
Yeah.
This definitely happens.
Yeah, I'd give it that to you.
Yeah.
So then next was Swiss to take care of business against Bosnia Herzegovina. 4-1 win for them puts the Swiss at 4 points, and Bosnia Herzegovina have one at the break. So
Yeah.
looking like Canada's going to advance.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because Canada sits on 4, Qatar sits on 1. The biggest thing here was like nothing happened for like 74 minutes, and then all heck broke loose from the 75th minute on between
Wow.
goals and cards and whatnot. It was just absolutely wild. So yeah, definitely a snooze fest for a while, but then was very exciting at the end.
Yeah, definitely. So looking like the group of Canada is probably definitely going to have their best World Cup, having hosted this World Cup for themselves, or co-hosted. Heading to Group C, we had Brazil against Haiti, and this was quite a comfortable win on the face of it, a 3-0 victory. I think the big talking point is Rafinha's injury
Yeah.
continues, and that does not bode well, I think, for Brazil to have that balance in their attacking lineup.
Yeah, I think the tough part is it wasn't like a clattering tackle or anything like that. He just kind of went down on his haunches, like in a half crouched position, not really sure what it was. I mean, he's dealt with kind of niggling injuries this entire season for Barcelona. So really, really tough to see. Hopefully this allows him to rest up and make a full recovery, but just really rough to see. And you could see the devastation on his face after it happened, because he's just like, you got to be kidding me, not again, right?
Yeah, because he definitely knows that's probably where that frustration really is coming from.
Yeah. So Brazil do get the win. They stand on 4 points, Haiti at 0. And then, Andy, I will let you talk about this next one. It was an exciting game, a lot closer than I thought it was going to be, but a little disappointing result, I think, for us from our fandom perspective.
Disappointing result, not a horrible performance. Scotland definitely set up to defend, and I think they had just one small lapse
early
in
on,
the second minute.
Early
on, very small lapse. I think someone went when they jumped, maybe to try to go to attack when they really should have, maybe recycled the ball. Lost the ball on the left hand side, space in between Tierney and Robertson, and this guy, I don't know his name, but for Morocco, just takes it on the half volley and just rifles it. Probably scores one of the goals of his career
Yeah,
in there. So,
100%.
and that kind of was the game. That really was the game. I'd say Scotland grew in the game more and more. But I think they really just struggled to just try to find a way to create some sort of chance.
Yep.
Notice people trying. I noticed even most of Scott McTominay. He was getting into forward positions at one point. He ran into, I think, his own player trying to do a bicycle kick. So I think that kind of tells that like they are struggling to find ways to get into attacking positions
Yeah.
because they know Scott. And I think Scott McTominay is their best player.
Yeah.
But they're still at 3 points. Still a good performance growing in and taking the game to Morocco. They didn't just try to batter down the hatches and just settle for just a 1-0 loss or anything. So I give them a lot of credit going up against a Moroccan team that lost. I would say lost steam as they went forward in the game. But yeah, just a frustrating win or a frustrating result for Scotland. Wish they could have maybe gone a little bit more aggressive, maybe near the end. But hey, you're trying to play to get out of this, so they're in a position to do so. So good for them.
So Ismail Saibari was the name of the gentleman who scored that. So that puts Morocco on 4 points, Scotland at 3 points. Again, Scotland in a good position to get out of the group in one of those third place slots. Going into group, go ahead.
Nope, just saying. Indeed, I'm actually going to plug in my camera. So, Paul, give us a rundown for Group D or US's group.
Yeah, so USA ended up handling Australia 2-0. Good first half from the United States. It reminded me of their game against Paraguay. It was a pretty dominant performance in the first half. Australia definitely looked like they were second best to the United States, and things got a little chippy because of it. But US definitely looked like the better team in the first half. In the second half, it made me a little bit worried if you're a fan of the United States and want to see the United States do well. I don't think we would necessarily put ourselves into that category here today, Andy.
No, we certainly do not.
Yeah. So it reminded me of World Cups past. And the reason why is the United States kind of played kickball in the second half, just kind of booting it upfield and just trying to relieve pressure instead of in the other three halves that they played in this tournament where they passed the ball around, they relieved pressure by possessing, which is what the great teams do, and creating more chances in the second half. Because Australia was definitely the better team in the second half, definitely had better chances, but the United States hangs on. Also, no Pulisic, no problem for Barcelona. Pulisic was actually out for this game. So, don't know what your thoughts were on the game there, Andy.
Yeah, I kind of thought the same. I didn't see the first half, but I saw the second half, and I did see that it looked very, just ball up in the air. No one really having the quality to take the ball down and play it on the floor, as they say. So I'd say, to me, what I've noticed is that the USA has had 2 own goals and they've gotten their early goals. So this is the credit to the USA is they're getting ahead and they're getting their goals early so they can kind of dictate the game. But they've had to rely on 2 own goals. So I think it'll be interesting just when they'll run up against better competition, what they're going to be able to do. But what I will say is there's a lot of momentum. And if they're the team of the tournament, that's going to be a problem. Because they could go far, they could get a semifinal. If you're looking at their run-in, I was taking a peek, and they're not facing opponents that really are any better than I think in terms of like Australia or in terms of Australia, maybe Turkiye, but Turkiye that actually can show up and play. So they could advance quite far before having to face like a big tough opponent. So that's going to bode very well for them to get further and further. Because if you build more and more momentum, I don't know, your team of the tournament. I'd much rather be team of the tournament than a really really good team. Just for all the luck that can happen.
Yeah, absolutely. So they put themselves in a good position. 6 points for them. Australia sitting on 3 points, so still sitting in a good spot there. Paraguay, they ended up shocking Turkiye 2-0. Turkiye, very, very, very slim chances that they can get in. They would
Mm-hmm.
have to have a shock win over the United States and would have to rely on one of those third place finishes with goal differential between, Australia and Paraguay. So
Yeah, because they're
yeah,
like a
that's
-4.
yeah.
Yeah, they're
So
already at a -4.
yeah, so
So
it would be they would need a miracle basically. But
yeah, yeah.
um, but yeah, I think my biggest shock here is just, I mean, they haven't looked great.
Mm-hmm.
They were,
Mm-hmm.
I think, picked by most people to finish second in this group.
Yeah.
And yeah, Paraguay kind of just took it to them. And I think my biggest thing is Arda Güler, who has been a mainstay for Real Madrid, was, other than Valverde, I think from a consistency standpoint, was probably Real Madrid's, and Mbappe too, probably their third best player this year,
Mm.
outfield player anyway. But
Mm-hmm.
he's just been non-existent. He hasn't done
Yeah.
a darn thing. And I think Turkey has struggled because both teams that they played against, Paraguay and Australia, has basically just sat back, absorbed pressure, and just hit on the
Mm-hmm.
counter. And that
Yeah.
was, it was 2-0 games because of that exact storyline.
Yeah.
So yeah, just tough if you're a Turkiye fan to see that. Yeah, but this is what happens at tournaments: is teams that are expected to do well
Mm-hmm.
sometimes struggle.
Yeah, there's always a couple teams that are expected to do well and they struggle because sometimes they have a blueprint for them, and if you know I think if there's a blueprint for those teams, for those players, easy to follow, and something just goes, one little luck goes their way, it can go kind of spiral downhill. So
Yep.
that's what it looks like for Group D. Group
So
E.
real quick, that puts Paraguay on 3 points, Turkey on 0. So the
Yes.
upcoming match between Australia and Paraguay is going to be very interesting.
Yes,
Basically fighting
indeed.
for second in that group.
Indeed. So now we head to Group E. This is actually turning out to be quite an interesting group.
Yep.
Just given in terms of the score lines and actually the matches themselves. First one that I want to touch on for Group E is the Germany Ivory Coast game.
Yeah.
This is kind of crazy, I would think, because this was the first time I think we saw a comeback victory where a team went down one goal and came storming back to win 2-1 in Germany, going for it.
South Korea, Czechia. South Korea came back from down 1-0 to win 2-1.
That's right, they did.
Yes.
You're right.
But I would say the bigger team. So like I would say like a really big team that was expected to do well coming back for sure.
Yeah. And I would say Ivory Coast, I think Ivory Coast is probably one of the bigger teams in Africa for sure.
Yeah.
So kind of not necessarily a heavyweights, but like I think a very well sought after matchup with this.
Yep.
So yeah, that was my kind of takeaway, is seeing a German comeback.
Yeah.
Where they've slightly struggled, I guess, and have struggled against better opposition. So for them, good to see them coming back and getting fit in form.
Yeah, I felt bad for Ivory Coast because I think they were by far and away the better team in this match. But just Germany just kept knocking, and eventually Ivory Coast just gave just a little bit,
Yeah.
which was tough for them, and they led for a good portion of this game, being up 1-0. But we'll have to see what they do going forward to see if they can get out of this group, going up against Curacao in their last game. And speaking of Curacao, Andy, holy park the bus.
Yep, getting the point against Ecuador, who people have said is also like Turkiye, of a dark horse that can go pretty far. You're thinking, right, Ecuador, Western Hemisphere team, thinking they're going to do pretty well with all the altitude and changes and what have you. So they're finding ways to get points, man. And if it's parking the bus, go for it. I think it's a legitimate way of playing.
Yeah. And Ecuador just kind of struggled, both with Ivory Coast and Curacao over their first two games, just finding goals, and give credit to Curacao. I mean, you get points however you can get points. That's their first ever World Cup point, and you saw what it meant to the fans, to the players, to the manager, to the people back home. Like, it was awesome scenes, just absolutely awesome. So
crazy scenes.
Absolutely. So Germany sits on 6 points, Ivory Coast sits on three, Curacao on one, and then Ecuador on one as well. So Curacao and Ecuador are going to be hard pressed to get out of this group in one of those third place, maybe even sneak up into a second place slot, depending on how it goes in the last game, but going to be
Yeah.
hard pressed to do so.
Yeah. Yeah. I kind of honestly, so many games are really now up to that final match because you can
Yep.
drop from first to third but still get in. So
Yep.
yeah, lots to play for. Heading to Group F, it looks, well, big takeaways from Group F. Netherlands played Sweden this Saturday. Was able to watch a little bit of the game, and the Dutch were so incredibly clinical.
Yes.
Walloped Sweden 5-1 and did to Sweden what Sweden did to Tunisia
Mm-hmm.
just the week before. So yeah, really impressed with how clinical and yeah, I think just clinical, decisive. The Netherlands were ruthless that they were in putting things away, and how clean that their buildup was to their goals.
Agreed.
Very, yeah, almost looked like a club team. Very, very. I was impressed. I was definitely impressed
Yeah.
For their performance.
Yeah, definitely. I think agree with that 100%. It shows you the levels that there are, I think, in this tournament, where Netherlands is one of those teams that's going to be vying for the top spot, taking home the championship itself. Sweden, not quite there. And I think it kind of tarnishes their opening round match against Tunisia because they won 5-1 and looked really solid, especially in attack. But once they go up against one of these better teams, just levels to this game.
Yeah. I think that was the big question I think surrounding Sweden was Sweden had I think it was Sweden had like kind of a really poor qualifying time for the World Cup. So you weren't really necessarily knowing like how good that they were. And so they had their chance here, which was kind of a must win even for the Netherlands that they kind of felt that because if they didn't, then they're languishing at 2 points
or
trying
one.
to get or one. Because they got a point against Japan.
Yes.
So but if they drew or whatever, yeah. But yeah. So with that, them coming out and having to really have a kind of a decent matchup. This is where Sweden was going to try to show like how they can play. So all still to play for a little bit for them. Looks like they'll probably make it through if they stay third and get a point, but it's all going to depend on how they do against Japan, who are looking stronger than they did in their first game.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Japan absolutely taking care of business against Tunisia 4-0. I mean, I think, again, Japanese teams historically have struggled to put the ball in the net in World Cups, and they already have six goals over their first two games. And I think personally, them and Norway have been the two most impressive teams of like the not like shining kind of teams that you would expect to do well in the World Cup, especially in the opening couple of games. They've looked really good. I do not want to run into them in the knockout stages at all.
Yeah. Because Japan went to Wembley and before the World Cup and put on a clinic against England.
Yep.
And England is one of the favorites for the World Cup. So yeah, this is definitely keep an eye on Japan. And what they could potentially do.
Definitely. So yeah, Netherlands 4 points, Japan 4, Sweden 3, Tunisia 0. So we'll see how that shakes down. 1 through 3 could flip flop in this final game. So
yeah, one that probably will not is Tunisia. Their no manager bounce. Crazy that they got rid of their coach after the first match. Second match, none better. Surprise. Heading to Group G, we had Egypt versus New Zealand, and Kiwis. Unfortunately, they scored too early, and then Egypt just unloads their arsenal and mummifies New Zealand.
Good one.
Yeah. Tried for that one. So yeah, I see you put tale of two halves. So what did you notice, Paul?
I mean, New Zealand in the first half, and then once New Zealand scored, like you mentioned, they scored too early, and I think they just tried to pack it in too much, and absorbing pressure for that much time against a team of Egypt's quality is really, really tough to do. And we saw that with Egypt exploding for 3 goals kind of in the second half of the second half. So yeah, just really, really nice to see Egypt be clinical, because I think over their first two games, it was kind of building, but not quite there, just not quite
Not
getting over the hump.
clicking.
And then all of a sudden it took one and the dam broke, and that was that.
Yeah, yeah. So it's and ends up being kind of like a glut. I think is what I'm kind of noticing in these games where it's either high scoring games or draws, especially I think
Yep.
this second round of group matches.
Yep. Yep.
So heading now
Speaking of
to
draws.
yeah, speaking of draws, I read Snooze Fest, this 0-0 draw, Iran versus Belgium.
Yeah.
Having seen another 0-0 draw today, yeah, what are you making of this? Because there was action in the game, it just wasn't goals.
Right. Yeah, it was, Iran had a goal that was called back because they had a set piece and they ran this really nice play. Kind of like Andy, I don't know if you remember Netherlands, Argentina in the knockout stage of the last World Cup, where
Mm.
everybody is expecting the set piece taker to take the shot, and he instead plays like a low hard pass to somebody who's right next to the wall, who ends up getting
Mm.
in behind and scoring. That's how Iran scored.
Oh,
But
interesting.
his
Nice.
butt was offside.
Cool.
Yep.
I like how that's the one that they intervene on.
Yeah, I mean, technically, it is a part of the body that can play the ball, and yeah, he was just offside. So, um,
And
yeah, but other than that, man, it's just disappointment for Belgium. It
mhm.
like again, it's the World Cup, and it's Belgium failing to perform. Like
Yeah.
it's a tale as old as time.
To be fair, their golden generation is gone, but also like I don't know if they may, maybe this is wrong and viewers can chirp in on this, but I never thought that their golden generation really was that incredible. Obviously, yes, like you had a prime Kevin De Bruyne, you had a decent defense um, behind behind them, but in terms of like out and out striker, winger, I think they had some tricky wingers. Like they had a talented team,
Yes.
but I don't know if they had like a bench that like looks like a France or looks like Argentina,
Yeah.
where that it's like if they play their second teams, their second teams can outplay
First teams.
anyone. Yeah, first
Yeah.
teams
Yeah.
for good organizations or good federations, let's say.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
And another storyline. I don't know if you heard about this. So
Mhm.
actually, we'll cover what happened in the game first, and then we'll cover the off the field stuff. So I see the red card, Andy. I think that's
Yeah.
going to play a part in this
Yeah.
third game.
I think so. One of their central defenders, I think it's Ngoy is how you would pronounce it. He sees red, so I'm sure he will be out for the match against New Zealand. So that just puts, I think, just Belgium in trouble now because they're already without their starting center back. Who knows? Maybe he could be the player of the tournament coming on for that. But
Yeah.
it's like a little bit dicey. That's not a place you want to rotate a whole ton as your defense there.
Yeah. Yeah. So rough on the field, off the field. Andy, Jeremy Doku not available for this game. He decided to fly home for the birth of his first child, which has caused a lot of controversy and shouldn't. But there was a French reporter who was a woman who was bashing Doku for this decision, for flying home. Like, what does the man do? Show up and hold his wife's hand and cut the cord?
Jeez.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just gonna kind of leave that there.
The heck is wrong with her for saying that?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. And it's not only the birth of a child, it's the birth of his first child.
yeah.
And again, I think people lose sight that these are human beings first. And this is a sport. This is a game that is being played.
Yeah. Yeah.
It
Like
doesn't matter in the grand scheme of life. It does not matter. Life matters.
Yeah. 100%. Because yeah, I've heard Troy Deeney call this person an idiot for what she said, and like I agree.
Yeah.
It was crazy hearing Troy Deeney say that, and then the facilitator saying agreed, absolutely agreed, spot on, in agreement. That is just absolutely unhinged stuff. Like when it comes to everything that you have said of someone's life. Like these are life moments.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that matters more. Being that human being matters more. Yes, it's a World Cup, but like at the end of the day, like you, yeah, at the end of the day, it is just a game. It's not someone's life and bringing in life into this world. So,
Yep.
yeah, spot on there.
Yep. Definitely. So
Head
go ahead.
to I was going to say heading to Group H, we
Oh
had
yeah.
Spain finally. I'd say like unleashing their demons against the Saudis.
Oh yeah.
4-0. Paul, I'd say take it away because I think Spain's one of your favorites, given
Absolutely.
how many Barcelona teams or Barcelona players are on the Spanish team.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the biggest thing is you notice when Barcelona has a winger and they on one side anyway. So Lamine Yamal starts this game. Luis de la Fuente finally plays players in some of their more usual positions. Within a minute, Lamine Yamal creates a really dangerous chance, and you just go, "Oh, okay. Like we're okay. We're gonna be okay." And he ends up breaking open the scoring in the 10th or 11th minute, something like that, and it was just a rout after that. You know, that's my biggest frustration with Luis de la Fuente is I think he outsmarts himself at times. He puts players in positions where for some reason he thinks they're going to do well, but they struggle in. I mean, putting Gavi and Ferran Torres the last game as wingers makes no sense. They don't play as wingers, so they had no width against a team that was parking the bus against them.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
it's amazing. Once you open that up, Lamine Yamal starts creating chances. Danny almost creating chances. Oyarzabal gets 2 goals. And yeah, it's like, wow, like amazing what happens when, you use players how they're supposed to be used in their positions that they prefer.
Well, that's why like it matters to have that healthy lineup too, so that you can go and play for those. Because like I saw a video. I don't know if this is a video with Thierry Henry kind of analyzing what happens with a winger versus having someone that is kind of like an attacking player that can do those things. But I think it comes down to the idea, something that my soccer trainer sometimes said of like what's natural versus what's not. And sometimes a winger naturally is just going to want to go to the like find that space or try to go one-on-one with someone on the like a left back or a right back. Whereas someone who's not used to that, they're not going to take that on. They're going to more try to want to funnel it in and turn around and kind of go on a half turn more so.
Yes.
So that's usually that's I think was kind of the case here. So
yeah, listeners, I would definitely go back and watch that clip of Thierry Henry analyzing and showing the difference between Lamine Yamal as a winger and Ferran Torres, who is not a winger but playing that winger position. It's very, very informative.
Yeah, learning a lot from there just watching that. So, heading then to the other group, I'm amazed by this Cabo Verde team, man.
Yes,
I don't know how they got 2 goals against Uruguay, Uruguay is a subtle powerhouse, I think, in World Cup football because I think they have two World Cups. They won the first one, and I think they have either 2 or 3. So for Cabo Verde to put up 2 goals against Uruguay, pretty impressive. They opened the scoring. They started the scoring in the first half, gave up 2 goals, kind of in quick succession, and then found another one to tie up the match.
Yeah. I mean, it's fun watching them play because they're not just parking the bus, right? They did against Spain, but against Uruguay, they're like, all right, we got to go try to get points. We got to go try to get something from this tournament if we want to try to advance. And they did. And to do it against a team like Uruguay, they got stars. They have star power. They have firepower. Cabo Verde, on paper, luckily the game's not played on paper, but on paper looks to be the worst team compared to Uruguay. But they didn't care. They're like, we're going for this. And they managed to get a very thrilling 2-2 draw. I mean, that game was fantastic.
Yeah.
And set themselves up to get out of this group. I mean, they're going to be going up against, points-wise, the worst team in the group in Saudi Arabia. And Uruguay has to go up against Spain that just wet their teeth with the 4-0 win over Saudi Arabia. So,
yeah.
I mean, you give advantage Cabo Verde here, probably, right?
Yeah, this is one of the things that, like, if people are saying park the bus, well, these, I think players are good enough right now. The teams are good enough right now that they can do that and try to get those results. So
Yeah.
kudos to them. Their tournament's going exactly better than they probably had imagined it, but it's going to looks like it's going according to plan. So hats off to them.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely. So we will see what happens there in Group H. Andy, coming up on the last four groups, we're going to hit two games from both of these, or two games from each team coming up on these groups. Andy, Group I, France, Senegal, and then France,
Mhm.
Iraq. Let's hear your thoughts.
Yeah. So taking from these first, the first France game, going up against the co-winners of Africa,
Yeah.
Senegal winning 3-1. Little bit, I think, cagey in the first half,
Mm-hmm.
but I think France found their feet in the second half,
Yep.
and then going for the second match of France, breeze past Iraq, early goal by Mbappe kind of
Very
seals
nice.
the deal for them.
Yeah, that
Um,
was a nice goal.
yeah, crazy that thunderstorm delayed the first FIFA game. I don't know how long that delayed it for, but we got
It
to
was
see it in
hours.
action. Yeah, so yeah, in action. That's what could happen in America.
Yep.
But yeah, so France, 2 games, 3 points each, 6 points total. That's exactly what the doctor ordered for them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Speaking of what the doctor ordered for him, Andy, in Norway beating Iraq 4-1. Holland, man, just absolutely on fire over these first two
Mm-hmm.
games. He had a
Mm-hmm.
brace in that first game, gets another brace, should have had a hat trick in the game
Yeah.
against Senegal. This Senegal game was very good. Norway goes into the
Mm-hmm.
half up 1-0 with a late goal. And from, I believe, Odegaard, wasn't it? No, it wasn't Odegaard. Who was it? I can't remember off the top of my head. Anyway, but Holland comes back and gets a couple in early in the second half, and then Senegal starts chipping away. By the way, that Senegalese first goal to me is the
Mm-hmm.
goal of the tournament so far.
Wow.
I don't know if you saw it. He's going into the box. The Norway defender pulls him down. As the Senegalese attacker is falling down, he flicks his foot out, hits it with pace as he's falling down
Hmm.
over the goalkeeper's arm, like in between his arm and his shoulder, and fire like into the back of the net, like top bins.
Crazy.
And I'm
Crazy.
just like, how? How are you that athletic that you can do that as you're being pulled to the ground?
Yeah. Incredible. Incredible balance, incredible power.
Yep.
That's what we love to see.
Yep. So
Love to see that stuff.
absolutely, absolutely. But Norway gets the full points there. So Norway, France, both on 6 points. Senegal, I think disappointing. Tough group though, for sure. But a little disappointing for them being on 0 points in after two games here. And, they're going to need a win and a convincing win against Iraq to try to maybe claw out one of those third place spots.
Yeah. So, yeah, another one of those kind of like in the line of Turkiye and Ecuador of Senegal not living up to, maybe its own expectations there.
Mm-hmm.
A group that is and a team that is, I would say, is Argentina. And Paul, I will let you take it away for your favorite.
Oh yeah. All I'm gonna say in the first game against Algeria was Messi, 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 and the reason for that is Messi had a hat trick. Oh my gosh, Andy, it was
Mm-hmm.
like turning back the clock. Oh, it was so fun. And after Messi scored his third goal on Telemundo, one of the announcers said after this goal goes in, he goes "Que juega para siempre," which means basically that Messi can play forever. Like
Yeah.
that's what we want. And Elizabeth and I almost started crying at that point because we know that this is the beginning of the end.
Mm-hmm.
99.9% chance that this is his last World Cup. And he shows you why he's the best player of all time. I mean, just clinical hat trick. And it was so fun to watch. Outside of loving on Messi, great defense from Argentina. Algeria had very, very few chances or sniffs at the goal at all. Did have a goal called back for offside early in the first half, but after that, it was all Argentina. But I think a little bit concerning this game and in the second game is just lack of finishing from people not named Messi.
Mm-hmm.
If I had to pick a negative point, that's what it would be. So going into that second game, Andy, Messi again. Messi had a brace, so Messi's on 5 goals in
Mm-hmm.
2
Mm-hmm.
games, which is just wild for a about to be 39-year-old coming up here. His birthday's coming up. So my analysis of this game, Austria was clearly not the better team, and I think they tried to rough the game up a little bit, try to rough Argentina up to try to gain an edge, but
Mm-hmm.
it was just them taking chunks out of Argentina players, which was tough to see. Messi did miss a pen in this game. It was what would have been his first goal to break the record for most goals at World Cups. But he missed it. So could have had a chance at another hat trick after that. Was actually his first hat trick, by the way, of any
Mm-hmm.
World Cup.
Yeah.
Was the one against Algeria, which is crazy to think about.
Yeah.
But
Coming at the end of his career
yep,
is incredible.
Yep, definitely. So Messi not looking quite as sharp in this Austria game. He did lose the ball several times. Just looked a half step slower, especially compared to the Algeria game. Could have been the physicalness, a little bit better competition against Austria. Kind of hard to say for sure. Definitely something to keep an eye on moving forward. But Argentina full 6 points. Austria hanging on 3 points after dominating Jordan 3-1. And then Algeria actually came from behind to beat Jordan 2-1, which was an exciting game. So again, Austria on those 3 points, Algeria on those 3 points, Jordan on 0. So we will have to see as Argentina plays Jordan. Is Messi going to play in this game?
Yeah.
Argentina pretty clearly the best team in the group, probably going to go through with at least 7-9 points. You would expect going up against the weakest team, Jordan. What does Scaloni do with Messi in this game?
Yeah, I think that's a big question. That's something that he is going to ask Messi. If Scaloni is anything, it's going to be that. Kind of speaking of like another manager who's going to be asking, players on what to do, is coming into Group K of Portugal, Dominican Republic of Congo, Uzbekistan, and Colombia. Big headlines, I think, for this group was in the first match of Portugal versus DR Congo, a draw 1-1. Was not expecting that given the array of attacking talent that Portugal has. Lots of questions being asked about Martinez. If, is this time to drop Cristiano? Is Cristiano making too many problems and taking stuff away from the rest of the team? He came back today, was able to, in his match against Uzbekistan, Portugal, Ronaldo was able to get his goal. And
2 of them, to be exact.
Yeah, so he got a brace and has scored now in 6 World Cups that he has been in. So kind of easing the pressure on Portugal now with that very comfortable win there.
Yeah, nothing like a game against a weaker Uzbekistan team to really right the ship.
Hey, I mean, couldn't do it against Dominican Republic of Congo, and
Here's the thing, though. I think Democratic Republic of the Congo surprised a lot of people, and some people might say punched above their weight, but I mean, they showed that they were the equals to Portugal, and they made Portugal very uncomfortable in that game, which is saying something for as talented of a team as Portugal is.
Yeah, sometimes it's the physicality, and sometimes, like we've been in sports, sometimes it's just the matchup. Sometimes we get a really physical team and you don't get the little bounce or whatever that can be the big determining factor.
Yep.
But heading for the other matches, Colombia beat Uzbekistan 3-1 in their first match with Luis Diaz getting on the score sheet of Bayern Munich fame. And then I wanted to see where actually Dominican Republic, Congo, and Uzbekistan, I think, are playing right now, so we don't have updates just yet. But it looks like right now Portugal have 3 points, Uzbekistan have 0, and Colombia are currently sitting on 3 points as well. So it looks like now Portugal is going to be able to get out of the group there. Heading into the last group that feels like forever.
Yes.
Actually getting to see them is freaking annoying as a England fan.
Yep.
First match was a 4-2 win against Croatia. England went ahead both times. Croatia clawed back. or when England went up 2 times, Croatia clawed back 2 times. Incredible run and pass from Elliot Anderson to um, Jude Bellingham, who went on an incredible run, slotted it past the keeper, put England up 3-2, and then in the around the 70th minute, 80th minute, um, Tommy T introduced Rashford, and Rashford knew exactly what to do. Scored another goal to make it a 4-2 victory. My big takeaway was England just out hustled Croatia. People are saying, playing a Premier League style kind of match against Croatia. I think we were able to do that because Croatia wanted to play, and go like tet for tet. So I think that kind of worked in England's advantage in that
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah, definitely a statement win for sure.
Definitely. Ghana actually got a last gasp winner
Oh,
against Panama in their first game,
90 plus fifth minute.
Yeah,
Oh,
which is insane. Really is insane, because this Ghana team, I understand now why the goal that or the match we'll talk maybe a little bit about, hopefully not too long. Why that happened, because they do have actually a good amount of attacking talent, that can play at a very high level. So
yeah.
hats off to Ghana.
Yeah, I mean, and shout out to Caleb Urenki. I hope I'm pronouncing that right, for that 90 plus fifth minute winner. I watched that goal probably 3 or 5 times, and just the counterattack and the perfectness of it. And it was definitely one of those where Panama was probably the better team, more chances, more possession, but just couldn't get over the line. And Ghana steals it at the very end. So what a game that was. Those are the fun ones where they're just two teams battling it out, and one just late moment of brilliance seals the deal.
Yeah, it sealed the deal for them, and honestly, it was definitely needed, because they had a game plan against England and they executed it to perfection. England drew with Ghana 0-0. Ghana's defense just frustrated, I think, England for the most part.
Yeah.
Not a horrible game. Honestly, this was a 0-0 that wasn't horrible. England dominated. England created, tried to make chances. Just that final ball wasn't there. Their crosses weren't there. I think maybe, if I'm being really critical, I think there have been a couple times that Elliot Anderson maybe should have tried to play in between the lines a little bit more, get the ball to Jude Bellingham, let him make something happen, given how aggressive Ghana was. But Ghana just was very physical. Didn't seem to try to attack all that often. Was happy to settle in and go for that point. But it was attack versus defense, and like so many times, if you have just the right amount of talent and just the right amount of organization and are determined, you can get a result if you just hunker in there. So,
definitely.
they got their point. England got their point. So both of them looking like they'll probably finish in the top two, but it's all left to play for, to see who advances out of the group, because Croatia did beat Panama 1-0. This means actually Panama's out of the group in terms of like head to head, unless Croatia really dips out and can't get a result. I think Panama has to really beat Ghana. No, has to really beat England.
Yep.
Which actually, even then, they'd still be on 3 points. Ghana would have to really stump on Croatia for that to happen.
Yeah.
Sorry for running through all that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think of Croatia?
Go ahead. No, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say, what do you think of and what do you make about Croatia?
It's just they're on the tail end of their golden years. I think, the Perisic, Modric, Rakitic, and somebody else who I can picture his face but can't remember his name, when they were finalists at the 2018 World Cup. That was kind of their moment. And it's just it's tough to see a team just slowly get worse, when it comes to these national teams. And I think that's kind of what Croatia has done over these last few years. And it was a tough game against Panama, and they, eked it out, but it's also like, man, like Panama was again the better team and just couldn't get a result. So tough scenes for Panama with no points there. But Andy, real quick, we're not going to go into it as much as we did over the text, but England, Ghana,
Okay.
you disagree with me. I think there should have been a penalty late on in this game where an England defender leaves his feet, both feet in the air, tackles the what was his name? His name is Prince, is his first name, the Ghanaian attacker, in the thigh, brings him down in the box. I think it's a penalty, as we have shown in the text messages. You disagree with that. I just found it interesting that a previous referee from England and Wayne Rooney, your idol, both thought it should have been a penalty.
Sure.
Listeners, you should have seen the heated text messages that we had leading up to this podcast about this play.
It was good. I would have kept going. But I honestly, it's so late. I don't want to get into it.
Nope, we're not going to get into it. But just listeners, if you did not see the play, go back, watch it, make the decision for yourselves. If you want to reach out to us and give us your 2 cents, we would love to hear it.
Yeah, we'll come with our defenses ready for whatever comes. But let's go to my favorite part of the show, the Super Sub and Super Dud. Paul, let's start with our Super Subs. Let's start with our Super Subs. Let's start with them.
Yeah, so I will go Messi, 5 goals, 2 games, turning back the clock. I mean, it's just Elizabeth and I have almost been crying watching these 2 games, with just how happy and proud and great it is to see Messi perform at such a high level this late into his career, leading all goal scorers in the competition so far with 5. The other part is just watching Zlatan and Thierry Henry burying Alexi Lalas daily. There have been so many good quotes. I'm just gonna do one just for a little tidbit.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was later last week or over the weekend. Alexi Lalas couldn't make one of the broadcasts.
Yeah, he was in Seattle. I think so. He was heading to Seattle.
Okay.
So Rebecca, like as you're going to allude to, makes a joke that Lalas is not there.
Yeah, like, oh, so sorry, Alexi couldn't be with us. And Zlatan, deadpan, looks at the camera dead in its face and goes, "You're welcome, America."
Absolutely amazing. And Henri is on the joke too. Because I think Henri tried to put the joke back at Rebecca, saying like, "Your plan worked, Rebecca. You did it."
Exactly.
So it's like even
and
there.
She's like, "Don't bring me into this."
Yeah. And Zlatan's like, "No, I will be in this. I will 100%. I will make this about me. You're welcome. I did it for you guys."
Yeah. Oh, dude,
love
so
it.
good. So good.
Absolutely love it. Yeah.
They've been class. Those 3 have been absolute class. And that's what I'm going to say about the Super Subs.
Yep. I forgot to say, because I love it too. I love seeing Zlatan and Henri, because they have a chemistry from like playing and like the respect they have there.
Yep.
Thierry Henry he is really good at analyzing. I think because he's been a coach and he's had to be able to articulate these things.
Yeah.
And he's just like this very thoughtful guy. Not that Zlatan isn't. I think honestly Zlatan is learning English as another language. That's really tough, and he knows a lot of languages. And it's a first time thing for him. So he's trying to, get used to the fact there, but he's still got star power. And like when you have someone like Rebecca, who is going to be able to really identify what questions to ask and like really get on that person's level to really get them to extrapolate on it.
Yeah.
There's no one better in the business. So
and managing the personalities too, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, exactly.
That's a huge part of it.
Exactly. Yeah. So she has to be in on the joke. She has to be able to take the jokes and everything, and do be one of the guys. And I think that's what I really like about Rebecca is able to be quote unquote one of the guys, but still is so refined and being her own person as a woman on there. Just phenomenal. She's not just like a token woman being like, "Oh, I'm like a pretty looking thing." No, she is legit professional. Kind of like for CBS, what's her name?
Kate Abdo.
Kate Abdo, like top 2 right there for the 2 of them. I'll also say last shout out of the Scottish fans in Boston. I did forgot that Scottish fans do this, but every place that they travel to as a group, they donate to a local charity or volunteer for like a local charity in their time there to give back to the community that's hosting them, which I think is really, really special. So want to shout out Scottish fans. No Scotland, no party, all real. So love the fact that they do that.
Also, real quick, I don't know if you heard about this, but the Dubliner in Boston, the game between Ghana and England that happened today, the Dubliner decided to post something on social media saying, we are giving our staff the day off today. They have worked really hard over these last couple of weeks. Luckily, there's nothing significant going on today in the sports world. And since the Scottish aren't here, we're closing. # no Scotland, no party.
Amazing.
So just a huge dig at the England supporters.
Amazing.
And
love
supporting the Scottish. It makes me laugh.
Yeah, I love it. I love the banter. I love the party vibes that they got for it. It's amazing.
Yep.
Super Dud, Paul. Let's run through those.
Yeah, I think the first one is, I think there's a little bit from Fox not allowing Rebecca Lowe to shine in her role. I think the fans of the game and who know how great a Rebecca Lowe is, yourself especially, can see how great she is and how great she is when she gets the opportunity to do so. But I think Fox is focusing so hard on Alexi Lalas, Zlatan, and Henri that I don't think they're letting her shine as much as they should, personally.
Yeah, they're sexist. So yeah, totally.
Exactly. So the other ones that I would say are Panama, Ecuador, Turkiye, Senegal. Just for, throwing up a couple of duds. Senegal, I'm going to give a little bit of a pass there because they've faced two really good opponents so far. But the other teams just disappointments, with the opportunities they were given.
Definitely. I'll say for mine, it's the beating around the bush. You've mentioned this in the Supersubs and kind of in the Superduds. I'm going to say Alexi Lalas. Like, he is.
Yep.
He's not the person to be the face of American soccer.
Nope.
I think especially when Henri actually gave him a nice, call out of saying I see after the first USA match where they're live of Henri saying, something nice that he noticed and touching about seeing Alexi Lalas, what it meant to him. He's like, okay, I get that now, what U.S. soccer means. And immediately after, in the next, couple games, when Alexi Lalas talks about France, he immediately talked about France as this arrogant team who just decided they were just going to walk up there and they were going to show up Senegal, and just saying these really just brash and just stupid things. I was so happy that I think Zlatan was going to bat for Thierry Henry and the French team by saying, ignorant people call it arrogance, I call it confidence.
Yeah.
I think he was really going to bat for.
He said intelligent people call it confidence, which is what I call it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I did hear the intelligent part. I just heard him just calling Lalas ignorant, because he is. Yeah. I think he is.
100%.
Yeah. So I found in the past I looked up this kind of thing, and it looked like Alexi Lalas had at one point called out Ibrahimovic or Zlatan when Zlatan was playing in LA. So I think there was a little beef there.
Oh yeah.
But it looks like they've tried to become more chummy, at least on camera. So I think they've ironed out their differences. But yeah, just doing better. And I will give credit. Alexi, I think, is doing better. He's not saying dumb shit in terms of trying to stoke the fire. He's just saying other dumb shit. That's just stupid. But anyway, that's going to be it for us. Thanks, guys, for taking on this podcast. Hopefully, when we get to the group stage, end of the group stages, these will be a little bit more all-encompassing. But thanks for hanging with us. I have been Andy. Paul has been Paul, and with that, I'm wishing you all a big old bye.